Says clearly.
It's all good. We're rolling with it. All right. I feel like this may be a giant therapy session, and I'm sure that both of us, if not all three of us, will shed some tears at some point during this. But I am very excited to introduce my very favorite human in all of the land, my mom, Sue Brabec. Not only is she an absolutely top tier mother to myself and my two sisters, she is a sister, a daughter, a wife, a fifth grade teacher, life is good playmaker, yoga instructor, wildly impressive roller skater, and she could take away any muscle ache and pain with a lacrosse ball like a wizard. A Renaissance woman, if you will. Sue Brayback, welcome to the
Oh
podcast.
my goodness. Who is this lady you speak of?
It's you.
I need to hear more about the rollerblading. That feels very fabulous to me.
Little roller skating. We go old school. We
I love
roller
that.
skate. Yeah.
Such a passion. I love it.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
love
we need
roller
to
skating.
dig up some COVID times videos when mom would like send us Snapchats of her roller skating in the house,
Oh my
trying to
God.
get through virtual learning.
Yeah, that was my little break in between recording, math lessons and Zooms and all that. I would just get the skates on and go through the house. And
That's
my
incredible.
husband thought I was losing my mind, and maybe I was, but it got the blood moving after sitting so long.
She's got some good tricks
I love
already. We're learning good mental health
Crazy,
tricks.
crazy.
Okay, so feel like we should start with some more of the teaching related stuff because then even though some of this is related to emotions and such, I feel like as we get into more of the motherhood stuff, we're all just going to be crumbling emotionally. So let's start here. So, um, I feel like it is so interesting and so awesome for me to watch you as a daughter kind of like continuously advance yourself in your career and like find these like facets of your job that you are really passionate about and also enrich your students learning tenfold and help them support them emotionally and mentally. So I would love to hear you talk a little bit about like the social emotional learning work that you did with your yoga instructing, and some of the tools that you teach your students and why you felt like this was necessary.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm going to try to
That was
stay
like seven questions in one, so
focused in
sorry.
my answer because I could go on and on all day about it. So I think kind of got involved with Life is Good Playmaker Foundation. I don't know if ever buy those t-shirts from Life is Good. That whole company was founded to do good. That was like a way to make money to help children heal. So it's all trauma-based play. I'm a playmaker. I love that's my favorite title. Um, but it's all about healing and how when you are in a trauma state, you're in snake brain, you're in fight or flight, and you can't learn if you're always worrying about what's going on or in that shutdown mode, which a lot of my kids are. So we bring joy and optimism and play into the classroom because the research shows when you're laughing and playing, it opens up the brain again so you can be available to learn. So it kind of started with that. And then I learned, and through that, when I went to Boston for 2 days before COVID, it was all in-person instruction. I was sitting there learning about the brain, the science of the brain, and I'm going, oh my God, I kind of had some trauma when I was a kid. And I didn't really call it that. I knew there was some dysfunction there, but I didn't realize that what I had gone through was trauma and it plays out continuously in your life. And so I was kind of learning more about myself along with the training that I was getting so I could apply these things to myself as well.
Mhm.
From there, though, I did Breathe for Change, which is a yoga and social emotional learning um, program to teach teachers how to bring it back to other teachers because of burnout and to also bring it back to your students. Same philosophies to open up the brain to learning. It's all comes back to we can't learn if we can't be in the right mindset or headspace for it. So I became a yoga instructor and an SEL facilitator. And again, I bring it back to my daily life with my kids. I use it for myself. Some days are better than others because the stress does creep in there. It's all like how to deal with those stressors. Um, and then now I am in the almost done with a kids yoga certification. So this is more like Breathe for Change was for adults and kids, but now I'm doing just stuff focused in on kids. So I do it in my class all the time. Of course, we need brain breaks. You can't sit all day long. You have to get up and do a sun salutations every so often. You have to take a breath and settle in. And I feel like we've always needed that for kids, but since COVID, it is a game changer. And anyone who does not understand this needs to come and really be around kids for a little bit. I have seen the mental health just explode. Like we had COVID money for social workers and, SEL facilitators, and all that money is gone. So we're losing that next year.
Mm.
So all of
What
us,
does that like mean for the everyday?
it just means we don't have the support that we need. So imagine out of a class of, I don't know, 18, 23, whatever your class size is, you've got about half the kids that are in some mental health crisis at any given time.
Mm.
It's, and I live in a pretty good area. I'm not living in a high crime poverty area where we would see a lot of traumas. We have Navy kids, they have traumas because their families, go out to sea, that kind of stuff, divorce, that, stuff that everybody deals with. But there's trauma in some of these kids' lives. They've been in multiple foster homes, just stuff that's going on in their little lives. And just throw in COVID, the little babies that I'm teaching, they're fifth grade, but they were the kids that were at home. Their parents are trying to work, they're caring for their siblings, especially the girls, making lunch, not doing their own learning, or just didn't have learning for a couple of years. So now we're seeing the effects of that. And so what I've done with my playmaker training and my Breathe for Change, it's like how to help them through that. And it was nice to have the extra people that are actually trained psychologists and stuff in the building to help, because you're trying to teach, you're trying to get through your pacing chart, you're trying to get ready for state testing, you're trying to get ready for the middle school, and they are shut down. Last year I had probably a third of my class at any given moment, you could just see it. They are just in not fight or flight, they're in frozen mode. They are just, there's nothing, or they would just put their head down and cry and couldn't talk about, so you're taking, as a teacher, I'm being there as their psychologist all day long with the other kids. I'm like, how am I supposed to teach them? Right now we have a wonderful SEL coordinator that is going to lose her job because the SEL money's gone, and she could take them. She has lunch dates, and I can call at any time, and she can go have a conversation and a walk with them. And I'm losing that because of budget cuts and everything that goes along with it. So it's just what's going to look like next year is trying to teach and do all that, which compassion
Impossible.
fatigue. It's like, yeah. And the other end of it, if, they're dealing with those problems, there might be shut down. Um, they might just be, I have a couple kids this year that just look at you like, it's, I don't know, 170 days of school. And they're like, what? I'm supposed to sign up for lunch? Like there's the memory goes, like there's so many things that happen in the brain. Or they might just get really angry, they might be throwing a desk across the classroom. There's so many different ways that it shows up, but to not have that help, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I veered off on a
No, I feel like that is such an important conversation to have. And like, it's something that I think if you're not around kids all day, like you wonder about. I mean, I've had those conversations with people too, of like, I wonder, what the effects of however many years, like in sort of quarantine and sort of hybrid, every back at school, like what
yeah,
happens to
yeah.
these kids. And
Definitely the mental health is huge. And they're behind, which they'll catch up, as far as like whatever, you use a calculator if you're not sure.
Yeah,
Do some of the math. It's
truly.
the other stuff I'm more worried about. Executive functioning, there's a lot of memory issues, following directions.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's also a very hard time to be a teacher due to the political climate and how volatile that obviously is, and how much they kind of like both rely on teachers and weaponize them, but also blame them and underfund them. And it's like, I don't understand what they expect, but I would love to hear your perspective on that, like what your experience has been like in the last few years in terms of, you know, obviously resources being taken away, but also like how vocal you see parents being about certain things, or like what has your experience been like?
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of awful, awful stuff on TV. And I'm pretty lucky that I live in a district that supports us better than some. And we just went through a huge budget meeting where they were going to cut like 7.8 million, and the committee overturned that. So thank goodness they support us, and we didn't lose as much as we thought we would. Um, I feel like, generally speaking, our parents are pretty supportive as well. During COVID, when they were sitting there next to their kid and listening to everything, I did have a couple issues. You know, I had some parents that didn't necessarily agree with their child. Trying to say this politely, didn't necessarily agree with their child learning real history. They
Mm-hmm.
wanted the whitewashed white man's version of history, and I'm not doing that.
The version that we definitely both got.
I'm not doing that. I mean, my goal as a teacher, and especially a fifth grade teacher, they're all about social justice at this age. If you look at, developmental milestones, they're all about social justice. So I really want to teach like how to think critically. Don't just believe everything I tell you. Look it up, like do some research
Yeah.
and make up your own mind. So I'm not telling them my opinion, but I'm going to make sure that when I'm teaching history, I'm teaching all the perspectives, not just the white dominant perspective that we read in our textbooks. I'm
Yeah.
making sure they understand. Fifth grade, our curriculum is colonial America up to Revolutionary War. So I'm going to give the perspective of women. And I say it jokingly, like, sorry, ladies, we weren't included in that. Like, or guess who wasn't included? Girls. They all like,
But
yeah.
it's important for them to know.
Yeah. And, the Native Americans, oh my gosh, and African Americans at the time. And, we do, one of our reading units is on civil rights. So we do, Black History Month, and I do it all, Native American history. And I had a parent that bypassed me, and usually my parents and I work really well together. We're a good, great team. But this parent just bypassed me and went straight to my principal. And it was during COVID. So we were raw and emotional and exhausted. Like I gave 100,000,000% of my soul to my students. And I was not in a good place, as many of us were. And to feel betrayed like that, because I gave everything. They had my phone number, they could call me. Like I was helping some of the ones that were struggling. As soon as you would hit the floor, you're like, okay, am I ready for the day? Like I gave everything to the kids. And to have a parent just not even talk to me about it, but just go straight to my principal, and they wanted to move their kid out of my class because of my views, which we all kind of teach the same way. We all have similar mindsets. So she didn't like that. And that was really upsetting. She thought because I had a picture of Kamala Harris on my board that I was, trying to indoctrinate these kids. And I'm like, no, I don't care who you voted for. I didn't even tell you who I voted for,
Wasn't
but
it for like talking about like women's history and the importance of
yeah.
just
And
like
she was just
50%
the
history?
first woman in the White House that wasn't a wife
Yeah.
or a servant, and I'm like, it's a historical event. Like you should have done the same thing with Obama. I don't care. It's the first Black man that's in office
Yeah.
as president. Oh my God, it's
You-
historic. I don't care if you like him or not. It's a historical event that we need to talk about. So my principal though, to get back to your question, that my principal backed me up on it. And I am part of the DEI committee for the district, and they have been very clear, we'll back you up on it. We need to include everybody in our conversations and in our lessons. So I'm lucky that way. I think a lot of states are, 100% opposite. No, status quo.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And obviously we're lucky to live in the states that we do live in, where you do, yeah, have that support and ability a little bit more. But I think also like so many of these parents also were just taught such the same sheltered, like rose-colored glasses version of history, and it makes them feel uncomfortable and, wanting to shield their kids from any kind of like uncomfortable feelings. I'm like, that's not how we grow as a society.
It
I
is
like the way
uncomfortable.
I
Sorry.
like the way that you said you felt betrayed too, because I remember, so I had been teaching prior to having my two girls, and I remember situations like that too, where, for example, we were teaching about Harvey Milk, I think that that's his name, and he was the man who created the pride flag, and so we were making pride flags. It was for the month of June, and I remember the same exact situation happened. I had this great relationship with this family. They bypassed me, went straight to my principal, declared that their son was not going to be learning about homosexuality, and I was indoctrinating my own opinions, whereas it was a whole grade level curriculum, right? It wasn't like I was like, we are going to learn about gay men today. But
Right.
regardless, I shouldn't have to like back up my teaching. But the same thing, it's like you put 188% into teaching. And I don't think that people really understand really what you do as teachers and how much you give. It's not just you have such great hours and you have such great, like you just follow the
And the
curriculum and
summer off.
yeah, just teach. Like, no, you are 80 different hats and you are doing so much more than just teaching. And the same feeling is like they went to the principal and it said all of these things and wanted to get the child removed, and you feel so betrayed. And it's like there's not much support a lot of the time. And it is so it's so sad because people are leaving this profession and me as one of them. And it's sad because it's so important. But we're being asked to do too much. Like you're saying now, there's people leaving because there's no more money. And it's like, what's that going to look like? Not only for you, but for the students, for all students, not just kids who have needs. It's general ed as well, like because now they're not going to be getting their needs met because you're
Yeah.
probably going to have to help these students having tough times. So I'm going on a tangent, but just to say, you're not alone. And I think that that is the majority of what's happening, unfortunately.
It is. One of my coworkers is retiring, and she's young. I'm not going to say her age in case she watches this. She's retiring from teaching because her health is suffering. She, suffered all these medical things, and it's all based on the stress. And it's sad. It really is sad because you're going to lose a lot of good people. You're going to end up with the people that I'm doing it to get my summers off.
Yeah. Or working for the benefits and all of that, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's sad.
And not for nothing, lest we not overlook the fact that like half the reason why it's such an underpaid profession is because it's a profession for women, because you're just assumed to be doing it because you're a nurturer, but you care about the kids.
Mhm.
And like,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I
ugh,
think, part of the profession is that it's never been professionalized.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like we have the same degrees as accountants and
yeah,
and and the whole reason I remember learning, I don't know what class I was taking, that the whole reason we have principals is because they wanted a male to make sure that the women were doing okay and not to break rules, talk about things we weren't supposed to talk about, I guess, back in the day when it was
stay
a little.
on track and stop gossiping.
I know. Or tell like, ooh, the woes of women.
Yeah, right. You don't be gathering all alone without the presence of a man.
No, those kids are gonna rise up.
Okay, well, let's get into a little bit about like how you got to where you are. Because I feel like it's something that you don't brag enough about. Like, which also we can talk about. Where like I know that you are proud of yourself, but I feel like because you did not go the like, quote unquote traditional, like checking the boxes in the same timeline as everyone else. It's not something that you brag about so much, but I find it to be so much more impressive and, to be quite frank, like more interesting. She's not like other girls, okay? But so you actually went back to college when me and Megan were in high school and Becca was in elementary school and got your teaching degree, which is super impressive in and of itself. But it was also at a time when dad was out to sea a lot. Like, I feel like that was the time where he actually had long deployments, like a year and such, where like other times it was a lot more just quick in and out. So you're also solo momming it with 3 kids and 3,000 miles away from literally anyone that we knew because dad got transferred to Gig Harbor, Washington. So we were West Coast girlies for a quick 2 years. And so just all of that together, and you rocked it and did your thing and made it happen. But I would love to hear more about like how you came to the decision to dive in and do it, because I feel like we've never actually really deeply talked about that before. It was just kind of like I don't know, we were kind of young enough. It's like mom's going back to school, and we're like, awesome, cool.
I
Me
don't
too.
know. I remember Becca cried because I think she thought I was going away to school like you see on TV.
Mom's going
Becca's
to
so
boarding
funny.
school.
I know. I think that would have been awesome. Going to Hogwarts. Well, I think you guys were in middle school maybe, and
Okay,
Becca
we
was
started.
elementary. I think I started back when we were still in Ledyard. So I have credits like all over the country because we were in the Navy. So let's backtrack. So I didn't share this for the longest time because it was just something, but I'm like in my 50s now. I don't care. I quit high school when I was 16, but I quit because I just dysfunction, but I quit because I hated wasting my time. I don't want to go to a stupid pep rally. Why do I need an hour for lunch? Like, I just want to go get what I need done, get on with it, move on with my
Mhm.
life. I mean, that's a simple explanation, but that was where my 16 brain was. Plus, let's talk about the trauma at home and all that going on. I wanted to finish high school. I did want to go to college. And back when I was a kid, and I think it's getting better, that was like the route, right? That was what you do, was you went to college. I wish I had known. I probably would have been like a construction worker or something. I don't know. I would have done something if I had gone to like, Vo-Tech school or whatever. But anyway,
Seriously, we all could have been in a union really raking it in right now.
production, yeah. But I feel like growing up, there were the kids that their parents went to college and that was the better route. And then there was I grew up in New Hampshire with back then, a lot of mills and things like that were still going on. And those were the parents that didn't go. Stupid, right? They're the ones making some really good money. It's crazy. But I kind of like quit school knowing that I wanted to go to school. I think back then when I was thinking like nursing or something like that. But nobody said anything like, what do you want to be? It was just kind of one of those things where I knew I wanted to go back to school. So I quit high school with a plan to go to night school. And the counselor sat there. Ooh, I'd love to go talk to those people now, go, what the hell were you doing? So my mom's crying and I'm there and he's like, yeah, it's fine. You just go to night school. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. So I finished that and I was working like 2 jobs and, I'm 18 doing it all on my own. And then I started taking classes at Keene State. That was, my plan. I wasn't like some like loser. I'm dropping out and not doing anything. I went back to college and that first paper I had to write, I cried and cried and cried because I had no idea what to do. Night school
Mhm.
does not prepare, but nobody asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? Right? They just were like, oh,
Yeah.
go, you know, and so I didn't do well. I took a couple classes, was still working 2 jobs, had my own apartment and all that, and I didn't do well. And then I met a sailor and I ended up kind of in this position, here I am, like I always said I I love my mother dearly, and she is a saint. She's the strongest woman I know, but she found herself in a position where she depended on a man. And I always said I'd never do it. And guess what I did? There I was, this Navy wife. And I, even when I moved to, I ended up moving to Connecticut to be with Steve. And I was going to school. I was working at a bank and I was getting banking. At that point, I decided I wanted to go be in marketing. I was going to be a marketing lady, like, Melanie Griffith from Working Girl. That was my goal. And so I was taking banking classes because they'd pay for them and that those would transfer. And then here we go for 6 months moves because of the Navy. And then I had signed up for class in Albany, New York. And I had Megan at that time because we were kind of working around shore duty. And then I signed up for classes, and then Steve was like, well, I'm going to take classes through the boat. The Navy will pay for it. And I was like, it's more important that you get the degree because you're the one that's working right now. I'm staying home with Megan. And then I got pregnant with Mandy. So I ended up dropping those classes I had signed up for. So there's that dream, right? And I was like, that's what I wanted. I wanted to stay home with my kids. But then, the years went by and I was like, there was always that I need to take care of myself. I would wake up in a cold sweat going, oh my God, here I have 2 kids. I have nothing. Like, what am I going to do? Work at Walmart, like, and support these 2 kids? I can't, it was freaked me out. So kind of dealt with that. And then just, that marital thing where it was his money, not my money. And we, that was like the main thing we fought about. I always felt like I had to ask permission and, so I wanted that independence for myself. And I wanted to be that good role model too for my girls. And the biggest thing that I wanted to give my girls was, you need to take care of yourself no matter what. I don't care if you have the best marriage, something can happen. I mean, if he dies, we got life insurance, I'm fine. But if he
But
just
still, what if for some reason I do not trust my admin skills that like some box would be checked wrong on the life insurance bill and it would be like, sorry, actually $0.
Right. Right. And, besides the whole money part of it, like I felt like I was put on this earth for more than just cleaning toilets, because that's how I think when you stay at home, you tend to give up a lot of yourself. And I just felt like I needed something for me. I mean, I had done like Mary Kay and things like that, but
You also were really like isolated so much of the time.
yeah,
I mean, when we were in Connecticut, we were there for a good chunk of time where you had a handful of Navy wives, like moms, that you guys had more of a community. But then there were so many times where like we were places for 6 months or moved across the country and like you truly were at home with kids and didn't have anyone to
yeah.
talk to or go see or anything.
It was a different world too. We didn't have like these amazing podcasts. Like I was listening to you guys and I'm like, you're so good for these young moms, like to share things. But when we didn't have that. Like we had the computer dial up for a while, but that was like
Yeah,
forever,
right.
forever. But it still wasn't the same. We didn't have like access to the world. So it was, and I loved learning. And like, I feel like now I could just go on and do all kinds of stuff online. But yeah, you're isolated and my brain wanted more. I felt like I had so much more to give than I mean, the biggest thing I'm ever going to do is raise my kids. I'm never going to top that. Like that's the most accomplished, like the biggest accomplishment. My most pride comes from that. But then you have to start thinking, well, there's going to be a day that they leave. What am I going to do? So there was all of that, there was all that going on. But I would say the biggest thing that kept me going was knowing that I needed to take care of myself.
Totally.
That I think that was the biggest thing that got me through, like when it was easy to like quit because it was hard, it was hard to do. Yeah, so I think it was really just I wanted my independence. I wanted to just go do whatever I want. If I want to go on a girls trip, I don't have to ask permission for money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is so huge.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like also so similar to that is how discouraging it can feel to be a woman And we're living in such unique times and such like contradicting times, because as we grew up, we were kind of under the impression that like this is getting better. Like we are making strides. We came up in the time of like girl boss era, you know, the lean-ins, the Sheryl Sandbergs, all of that. And now, interestingly enough, fun enough, we open up our phones and there are, you know, NFL players giving commencement speeches telling women that, like, I'm glad you had fun having thoughts in college. Actually, the best thing you're ever going to do is be at home. That's really where you belong. Or, you know, government like stripping us of our reproductive rights, and like men so openly hating women. Like it feels like a very contradicting and frustrating time, but I would love to hear kind of your perspective as someone who has lived more life than we have at this point, in terms of like maybe more of a feeling of hope than we have. Um, I don't know. I have like 4 questions in relation to that.
You know I'm
I
gonna
don't know
go
where
down
this is
this
going.
road. It's sad. Well, okay, a couple things. When I said previously that we didn't have the internet to like have the world at our fingertips, I think the reverse of that is you have the world at your fingertips and you're hearing all these idiots that are speaking. So I would say, let's not listen to these idiots anymore. Like, shut that down. It is disgusting. And I think I'm just going to say it. They're just ignorant. They're just stupid and ignorant. So why are we listening to them? Right? Like, listen to powerful women, fill your brain with powerful women, listen to your podcast because it's so funny. I just think, like, why are we giving them a voice? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, I think I'm coming off this year of teaching, so it's all fresh right now. I just did, this huge unit with Black History Month and Women's History and the empowerment of these strong women that fought, oh my God, that fought and risked their lives so we could have the rights that we have, which is so sad to see the women's reproductive rights being restricted. It makes me cry when I think about it. When I look at shows or read stories about women who were getting, abortions in their kitchen and couldn't use birth control, I'm like, what is happening? So I'm just bewildered by it. I don't understand it, but I think that those stories of the women that came before us are so empowering.
Mhm.
And when I hear my students say, yeah, my mom's not voting, she just doesn't have time. I'm like, oh my God, like, that's fine.
Like, does
But,
she need a ride? I'll drive her with
but
me.
I'm like, think of these women that like risked being beat
Yeah.
or, oh, I just can't even think of those women and get your butt out there and vote, right? I mean, I'm sure that lots of women in these southern states are out there voting. Like, well, who do we have to choose from these days? But I think that's one thing that we can do is, fill your brain with, all like research, look it up, like look at voting rights and history and the women that fought for us and make informed decisions when you're voting and try to keep people in power that are going to fight for us. If I was younger, I would say, like, get involved in political office, I guess, because we do need women that are making these decisions.
Yeah.
Um,
Desperately.
I
Please.
know it's disgusting. It's disgusting. To not get political, I'm just really scared about where this next election's going to go. I just don't even,
Me
can't,
too.
I can't even wrap my head around it. Talking about mental health, I don't know. I think that to speak to those women or to those men that are posting these horrible things, I think they're just, besides being ignorant, I think, raised in this male dominated society and they think that's okay. So I think we need strong women to tell them it's not.
Yeah, they like desperately need to be put in their place. Dear
Like, where are their
God.
mamas? Like, why aren't their mamas telling them, what are you doing, son? And son and mamas of sons
Yeah, it's a big job. It is
are
a,
seeing like little boys in this day and age that their mothers are doing everything for them.
Hmm.
Like their laundry, like obviously fifth graders, but high school boys, their moms are doing their laundry.
yeah, it is time to grow up and wipe your own ass.
Yes, thank you. All the things. I do have
Ah.
moms in fifth grade that baby those boys like crazy. I'm like, would you treat your daughter like that? No, you'd have your daughter step up and help, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that is so standard too. I mean, I feel like I would love to hear your perspective of raising three daughters too, and what that was like, and if you thought about these things like intentionally in certain scenarios with us or any of that kind of stuff, and or like if you and dad had conversations and all of that
About like with
about
raising.
like raising, like what it meant to you to like raise three girls and like what you wanted us to see as like our place in the world and all of that.
Yeah, I thank God I had girls. Dad was out to sea. And the
Seriously.
one time I tried to buy Becca softball mitt, I bought the wrong one, like the wrong hand. So I'll never hear the end of that. So
That
my
is funny.
little boy would be the biggest nerd. He'd probably wear like little bow ties and would have gotten up at school. He would have been hysterical. But I loved raising girls. I think the I don't know, I worried a lot. I think especially moving and my background, and because I didn't have a traditional, like I don't have a high school prom and I didn't do all that stuff. I really wanted all of that. Like I wanted all of it. Stupid pep rallies that I was like, those are such a waste of my freaking time. Why do I have
Yeah,
to
it really sucks for you that you hated a pep rally and then had like multiple of your daughters become cheerleaders and
No,
you
but
have to
I
go to
pushed it. I
everything.
pushed it because I wanted you to enjoy every minute because you have your whole life to become an adult and have like the obligations that I had as a kid. So I did the opposite where I was like, no, do all that stuff, do all of it. And I'm going to be there cheering you on and living vicariously through all of you. And I remembered like I had such a different experience. I didn't want like a serious boyfriend for you guys. I wanted you to just
Sorry.
live and have, I know Becca's marrying her high school boy, but honestly, we all know I could not have handpicked a better
No.
man for Becca. But
Kylan,
that
like
was
that was just a unicorn of a situation.
it. It was amazing. And but they were able to grow together and do their own thing. I think that's what makes it. What I saw a lot of people growing up and marrying their high school boyfriend is they only had each other and they didn't have like a big world of friendships. And you guys all have
Or
that.
experiences or anything.
Yeah. And oh, I can't go to college because my boyfriend, like I didn't want that for you guys. Um, I think I always worried, obviously about everything that you worry about with girls. Like, are you going to get hurt? Or especially moving. I think that was the big thing for me was I remember you starting school and just praying, please let them have a good day, please. I wanted my kids to be happy, obviously, especially with my experience. My worst nightmare would be for you to come home and say, I hate that school, I'm quitting. I'd be like, no, you're not. I'm driving your little butt every
Yeah,
day.
you're like, two of us cannot quit Keene High School.
I know, but just the fact that, having three girls, I wanted you to be friends. I used to always say when you'd fight, those stupid friends are going to come and go, but you'll always have each other. And it's so special. I have a sister who has special needs. So I don't have like a traditional sister that I can call for advice and stuff. So I was always hoping that you would have that.
Oh,
Yeah.
so I have, like I said, two girls, and it's so funny because I think obviously, like I never expected to have even one girl. I always thought for some reason I'd have these boys. So I find myself in this situation a lot of the times of like, I want to raise like very strong, bold, independent women. And thankfully, my husband is on board with that. And we are really like, they are barbaric in every sense of the way. As my toddler's walking around without clothes in the front yard, like it's crazy over here. But anyways, what I was going to say is a lot of the times I'm asking myself, like, how do I do this? Because I also had kind of a wild upbringing and I don't have the best role models of how to be mother to my daughter in all circumstances. So anyways, I think a lot about like what do other moms look like? And obviously Amanda's my best friend and I think a lot about like I would love for my girls to be just like Amanda, like and then I think about how she was raised, right? And I see a lot of you in her for the little bit of that I know about you. And so I think that when Amanda was saying like, how do you raise girls? I think that just from looking at you two, you have to really be what you want your daughter to be, right? Like I know that Amanda is kind because you are kind. I know she is empathetic because you are empathetic. You're talking about ways that you're
Oh my
helping
God.
these children as a teacher. And Amanda does the same thing when she just has a conversation with me. She's always checking in on me. And I think it goes back to like when we talk about being a good parent, especially a mom for daughters, like we have to embrace the characteristics that we want our daughters to have, right? Like I want to be independent. I have my degrees, I have all of these things, and I want you to know that it's possible because I'm showing you the way. And you have done that.
Absolutely. And I think, you can always go back and say, I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that, that kind of stuff. There's definitely things I would improve upon. Um, and I don't want to say
Perfect.
change because I think things happen for a reason.
100%.
But I think that's one of the biggest things. First of all, I wanted my kids to have a magical childhood. Even with some of the garbage that went on, I still had some really great magical times. Great memories. And I wanted to do the same thing for my kids, like make it magic, get and play, build those forts and tents and, have adventures and things like that. But it was about raising independent, strong girls. And I don't think I'll say dad's just got home. So I don't think I always like stood up for myself and things like that. There was times where I kind of fell off my own list, let's put it that way.
Mm.
And I think as a role model, I wish I had shown more of that. Like, no, I need to take care of myself. I think I do more so now, but I think you get caught up in it when they're little and you're in it, you're in it, you're surviving,
Yeah.
but
Both of my girls are crying downstairs. I'm like,
You're like, Daddy's
like
got
good luck, Dad.
you.
yes, yes. Yeah, all of it. You're doing great. Just keep doing
You're
it.
doing great, sweetie. That's what Amanda always tells me. So
You're doing amazing, sweetie.
Yes, yes.
I think you got that for me, Caitlin. So thank you
yeah,
so
I
much.
say it all the time.
I'm gonna move
Um,
upstairs because it's gonna get really loud in here in a second. So just let's walk this. Let's walk this
let's
podcast.
walk and talk.
Woo!
Well, no, I know that Daisy behind you
Makes me
being like,
so
Mom,
excited.
where are you going? Um, I feel like Caitlin definitely is in the thick of it right now, and like even as we got on, was like, so are you
Yes.
gonna help me like teach me how to do this, or
I'm
what are
like,
we
how
doing
do I
here?
mom? Yes.
But I would love for you to tell maybe like some of the like funny, wacky, crazy times, maybe like little hiccups that happened or anything like maybe not so much as like knowledge to share, but as like, you know, it's normal. We're all there. Like the time that you like locked yourself out or like fell through that plastic chair in Florida.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, I have Megan at home. I'd just given birth. Megan's at home. I swear to God, it was the day after I got home from the hospital with you. And I had bought flowers, not knowing I was going into labor. So I was going to plant them in the little walk in front of our apartment. And I'm like, felt great. Felt great the day. You know how you feel, the adrenaline. I don't know what it was. So I went
What we
out.
need to do, we need to garden. Like,
I need to plant these flowers. It's just a little flat of flowers. It's fine. So I had Sesame Street or something on, and Megan's 14 months and Mandy's like a day old, and I go out to go plant them, and I locked myself out, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, of course Megan's gonna fall in the toilet or something and drown because that's where my mind went. And I'm looking at her like Megan, and she's like singing to Barney or whatever it was on the TV.
Oh
And
my
I ended
God.
up breaking the window in the garage to let myself
Oh my God.
and then of course felt like garbage because I should not have been planting the day after I gave birth.
Nope. You
Yeah,
shouldn't.
actually, that is the lesson.
Yeah.
Don't be doing anything the day after, except for like
No,
feeding that baby and making your husband change the diapers.
Yes.
because you think you feel great and yeah, you don't.
You
You need to take care of yourself. Another
Yeah.
life lesson. The words of wisdom, take care of yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is the lesson for sure. Okay, we are coming up on time and I want to cover everything, but we're not gonna have enough time. So I just want to scroll through and make sure there wasn't anything super good that I forgot.
I know Amanda had like pages of notes. I was looking
I
through,
know.
add whatever you want. I was like, girl, you got it all.
I
Like,
know. I was
sorry,
looking
Emma.
like, oh
I
my
know.
God.
I love it.
I'm also just like really proud of us that none of us cried. Like Caitlin, you almost made me cry there for a second saying those nice things, but they
I
stayed
got
in
a
my
little,
eyeballs.
yes, I got a little bit.
Hi, Dad. He's
Having
the
a
funniest.
parent podcast.
Okay, let's do some rapid fire and then we'll call it a day.
I love it.
Sure.
All
This is
right.
so good.
Best family vacation. Go.
Oh gosh. Oh, Canada, when we went to La Frontenac in
Oh,
Quebec City at Christmas.
yeah, that was a good one.
That
That
was a
sounds
good
fabulous.
one.
How old were all of you?
College.
Yeah, me and
College?
Megan were out of college. I
Okay.
think Becca we were like just out of college. So Becca must have been like in late high school.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good
Yeah,
one. That's
that was a good
little
one.
kid Disney, obviously, because
Mm.
it's magical, but that's in my head. Yeah.
Grandpa would not describe that as his favorite family vacation. He still to this day will like get so heated and angry talking about like, you try to push a stroller through Disney World. Hell on earth. Okay, favorite daughter, go.
Love them all
Ooh.
the same.
Love them all. Wait,
I love them all
I
the
didn't
same.
write this on there though, but what has been, just because it's fun for where I'm at right now, what's been your favorite age for your girls?
Oh, I don't know. I always say like, oh, I love like 9 months because they're sitting up and they're so fun and they're starting those belly laughs. But then honestly, toddlers were fun too because they were so curious and those little and I just have this vision of Mandy sitting on Megan's leg when she was like 3 or 4 singing and they're doing all this fun stuff. Did a lot of like dress up, that kind of stuff. But then honestly, I loved high school too. Like the girls
Really?
were lovely. They were easy. They were really easy.
Oh,
We had our moments for
I
sure.
mean, I would say high school was more stressful because every time you left the house, I was scared you were going to get a car accident or something like that
Mm.
kind of stuff was scary. But now I love that they're adults because I don't have to be like the mom. Like we could be more friends. So I love it all.
great
It's
answer.
awesome.
It's
I would
such a
say
positive view of motherhood. Like there's
You're
just
like, when
always
they hit
something.
30, they just are terrible. Just go that
yes,
way.
yes. They stop
It's
calling the
the
girl.
terrible 20s.
I
But
would
like
say
truly though.
enjoy it all. Like I think if I had one piece of advice, like just it it's so cliche, but it goes by in a minute. So just enjoy every age. Yeah.
I love that.
So fun.
Yeah, you really did like make every little bit magical. Like even in high school, I remember like our first homecoming dance. You like had our house be the house that all the girls were having a sleepover at, and then we got home from the dance and we put on pajamas and you cooked us like chocolate chip pancakes like late at night and made hot cocoa and we like were such cute little innocent freshman girls just sitting around like
You know why we
talking
did
about the
that?
boys.
We did it because it was magical, yes. But do you know why we did that?
So that we weren't going out to parties.
So I knew where you were.
Yeah,
And I
that's right.
knew where that I wanted to be the house where the kids wanted to go so I could keep an eye on them.
Mhm.
It's very
Right?
fair. Yeah,
Right?
it's a smart tactic for sure.
That would
Just
work,
feed the kids
but
and they'll
that
always
was
come
the
back.
plan.
Yeah, right? Feed them chocolate chip pancakes. We
Yeah.
always had
They'll
dino
always
nuggets in the fridge,
return.
probably. We
Yeah.
loved a Tyson chicken tender. There were always chicken tenders in the fridge.
Well, especially moving so much, you didn't have a chance to see friends grow up and get to know all the
Mm,
parents. It was kind of like, oh, I'm trusting that these parents aren't wackadoos and let you go over there. So it was nice to get to know the kids and have them at our house.
yeah, for sure. That definitely was. Like, I will say, we were easy teenagers. We were well behaved. The couple of times I did anything sneaky was because you guys didn't know any parents. So it was easy to just be like, I'm sleeping over at Holly's house. We're totally doing that and staying there all night.
Yes,
But
yes.
we were so tame. I literally went to like 3 parties in high school, so it's fine. Okay, anyways, moving on before I get myself grounded. Um, what is one thing that you wish you could tell your younger self?
Oh my God. I would say, first, I would say, stop being an idiot. You look good.
Oh,
Stop,
I love that.
stop
so
worrying
fair.
about like weight and all that nonsense. Like, oh my God, I look back and I'm like, how much time of my life did I worry about being too fat or whatever? When you look back, you're like, oh my God, I was skinny. Like, what the hell was I doing?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
also,
That's so
like, I think I would just remind myself to put myself back on the list
real. Mm,
as a mom. You're not even on the list, not even at the bottom of the list. You're just not even on it. I think I would say that, and I would just be like, just stop and enjoy it, and don't worry so much because it goes by
yeah,
fast.
totally. Okay, but about the list thing, because I feel like that is so real. And even if you have the most amazing supportive partner, not to generalize, but men are simple creatures if we're talking about heterosexual relationships here. And truly any relationship, because people are not mind readers. I feel like that takes like having conversations with your partner too, like because if you're always getting everything done, yeah, they probably should be asking about like helping you and stuff, but also like if you're just getting it all done, they might just think that, oh, she's doing it all, she's crushing it, and really you're like,
Aw.
I'm dying.
Exactly. Exactly. They're not mind readers. They don't know what you need. You need to tell your partner, whoever it is, what you need.
Yeah.
But I think also there's this pressure to have everything perfect and that you
Mm.
can do it all. And why can't you? And I think you guys have it even worse because you have all the social media that's not real. Nothing's real. Nothing's real. Like
Yeah.
nothing. Everything is perfect and that's not real. Everything that you see is not real and true. And behind the scenes, there's chaos like everybody's house. We're not just I can't even imagine. I can't imagine being a kid growing up with all the images and being a
Mm.
young mom with all the images. And oh my God, you have to do this. And I thought there was pressure back then to just breastfeed. That was the big thing. But now it's like, oh my God, are you doing this? Are you using that product? Are you making all your kids food? Like,
Ooh, how's the
oh my
time?
God, there's so much. So I would say just turn that social media off and just remember that you're doing the best you can.
Yeah, totally. Like we were not built to be viewing everyone else's lives, especially not through a curated highlight reel for sure.
Absolutely.
Um, okay. Last two, and then I will let you go. One, what is the best bite that you have had recently as a food lover?
Oh, so I can't eat gluten, and Megan bought me gluten-free bagels from this place in Manhattan for Mother's Day, and I froze them in 2 packs. I'm actually eating one tonight because we're having breakfast for dinner, and I'm so excited about that bagel. Like you don't understand if you can't eat gluten, like those stupid. And I don't really miss that too much, but oh my God, when you have a good one, you're like, whoo.
Yeah, the ones that Mark has are such crap. Like they are the most like dense, flavorless, like cardboard
Why
paper.
bother?
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's sad to watch, truly.
Mhm.
So I'm very happy for you.
Yeah,
That's
these are
great.
great.
Okay, and then I guess you sort of just answered this one, but if you have anything else to add, now's your chance. Something that you would like to tell the new mothers of the world.
Yeah, I think exactly what I said. Just make sure you're on the list. You're taking care of yourself. I think we all know that, but you need to hear it again. Like,
Yeah, someone needs to
um,
tell you.
who's going to take care of everybody if you're not okay? So put yourself on that list. Just give a little bit of time to yourself once in a while and do stuff that's important to you. Because
Yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest things you can do if you're a role model, right? Take care of yourself and show your kids that they need to take care of themselves.
totally. And I feel like when you're in the thick of when your kids are so little and so reliant on you, I mean, I don't know from experience, obviously, because I only have a dog. But I would imagine it gets really easy to like, not like catastrophize, but to be like, so this is forever now. Like, I'm never on the list. I don't have time to take a shower. But like, now, fast forward how many years later? I mean, in elementary school, it was a different type of freedom that you had. In high school, different type of freedom. And now you're in your 50s and you are thriving and you have hobbies and all these different things too. So it like also good to know that like it all evolves over time.
It's different seasons, and I think parenthood, marriages, relationships, everything, right? There's seasons and there's ebbs and flows, and it all works out the way it's
Mm,
supposed to.
yep. That
Yeah.
is one thing that you always said. Is that it's all going to work out the way it's supposed to. So we can worry, but we also can just well, see what happens.
Yeah, just enjoy it.
Oh, this was so lovely, Mom.
So good.
So lovely. So lovely. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I would
Fabulous.
say like hype yourself up, but I feel like you don't want our listeners to come and start following you on social media. So
There's nothing to follow.
it would just be pictures of us and
There's
Daisy.
Dogs. Yeah.
nothing to, well, my retirement goal is to like do some like kids yoga up in New Hampshire when we retire. So we'll start hyping up that
Yes,
then.
absolutely. We'll circle back.
Couple of years, couple of years.
We will circle back. Awesome. All right.